Bitcoin came about, the concept of Bitcoin, in November 2008. Okay, there was a white paper written on peer-to-peer transaction system. Now, what else happened before November 2008? The major event was Lehman Brothers bankruptcy on 15th of September 2008. What that essentially led to was this, and by the way, I was at Lehman at that time in London, so I was more close to the financial markets. Essentially, what that meant was that people started losing faith in banks, in financial institutions, in the regulators, because they actually failed to honor their commitments. What are banks meant to do? Bring borrowers and lenders together. At the end of the day, that's all they do, right? In different shape or form, different products and everything. But with Lehman going down, $650 billion, the largest ever corporate bankruptcy on the planet, people started questioning that can the financial system work on its own. After that, AIG had a run on the insurance claims and many things happened. So thanks to some programmers, hackers, unknown entities, that we heard of a concept called Bitcoin. Because let's face it, all of us work in an environment where we are accustomed to how the world is today. Okay, it's complicated. It is complicated. Just think about it. Let's take a step back. If you go from Chandigarh to maybe 300 miles on the east or west, you'll end up in Pakistan with a different government, different regulation, different currency. You fly 5,000 miles to US, it would be a different currency. You fly 2,000 miles down south, you'll be in a different country every 100 miles. That is the South America, right? Everywhere, why do we have a different currency at all? Why do we have to deal with a different jurisdiction? Who defined this? How did the people start that, okay, this is this country, this country, this is a government, this is what they're gonna do? Programmers was some smart hackers, unknown till date, were thinking on these lines, and they said when you look at internet, which is borderless, Google is Google everywhere. Of course, governments may say that google.co.in can show this info or not that. Facebook.com can show some info in India or not. Amazon can sell some flags in some country and not. But at the end of the day, it's all borderless, right? That's the first concept. Second, whenever you bring anybody in the middle, whether it's a bank, so I go to HDFC, I deposit some money, 1 lakh rupees, let's say, I get 5% FD rate. You go to HDFC, you borrow the same money, they charge you 10%, give or take. 5% spread just for being in the middle. And if you look back in 2008, that 5% spread, God knows where it went, because the banks were unable to honor the commitments, right? So hackers said the whole problem is in the concept of centralization. You have a country, a government, a finance ministry, a regulator, a financial institution, and so many people around that, right? Why do you need these people in the middle if they can't do their job well? They said, why can't we start trusting each other? So today, if I come to you and say, this is worth something, it is of some value, here you take it, and in return, you give me whatever you are holding. People used to do barter long ago. It used to work. People would trust each other because the world was small place. The tribes were 100, 150 people, and if the number increased, they would make another tribe. The trust was built by knowing each other over a number of years, right? With today's growing world, ever growing economy, ever growing country, how do you build trust when you start transacting with a digital currency? That was a question the Bitcoin hackers or whoever came up with the idea came up with. So they said, instead of trusting a central system, why don't we create a software, a technology which is crowdsourced, crowd curated, run by a crowd, managed by a crowd, mined by a crowd, and cannot go wrong. Let's trust a system which we all build together in a more democratic way, but it is not dependent on one guy making a decision. No head of the state can come and say this money is not valid anymore. No one person can say that this is not going to work like this or that is going to change. Okay, the crowd has to agree in a democratic way. So with Bitcoin, they said it's a digital currency, transfer from anyone to anyone. But how do we make sure that when I give you a Bitcoin, let's say I have a Bitcoin on my mobile, okay, through my mobile I can transfer to you. When I give you a Bitcoin, it's not a copy, that it is a real Bitcoin I had at some stage. How do we make sure that? One problem with internet today, two problems which we're going to cover and come into blockchain are, one is on internet everything is a copy. When I send you an image, it's a copy. When I send you an email, it's a copy. I have it, you have it, you can forward it, 100 people will have it. But how do you send something of value which is transferred once, it's done correctly, We validate that I had it, and that if I give it to you, now you have it and I don't. That's one problem with internet. Everything is a copy. In Bitcoin and blockchain technologies, everything doesn't need to be a copy. It can be a unique thing of value. One. Second problem with the internet is the central institutions like Google, Facebook, anybody who's managing your information owns your data. And that's what they sell, right? All the ads you see on Facebook, WhatsApp gives your numbers to Google, to Facebook, sorry. They own your data at the end. And as privacy gets more prevalent, technologies like Bitcoin blockchain will become more relevant. So Bitcoin has been essentially a limited number. So they said day one, there will always be 21 million Bitcoins. That's a number fixed day one, okay? Day one, they said, here are Bitcoins. It has no value because nobody believes in it yet. They started distributing, pretty much distributing. The first pizzas in 2010 ordered at Papa John's were cost like 5,000 Bitcoins, which was a pizza for about $10. The value of that much Bitcoin today is $9 million. Things change in 5 years. You just don't know how the trust is built in time, right? And as people start distrusting their governments more, this will happen. This will become more and more relevant. Okay. So how does, right? So that's a concept of Bitcoin. How does Bitcoin get it right always? What is the core technology behind? That's called blockchain. How does it work is this. Imagine day one, I have 21 million, somebody starts with 21 million Bitcoins. Okay. Now, let's say I say to everyone in the room, there are 10 people, I give 2.1 million Bitcoins to everyone. Or say I give 2 million Bitcoins to everyone, 1 million is kept aside. Okay. Now, when 2 million is given to all of you, then we start transacting with others, right? Whoever believes in it. I give it to the camera person and he in return gives me a video and he charges, let's say 100 Bitcoins for that, right? Whatever it is. Now, when this transaction happens, essentially it is A giving some money to B, right? This transaction is clubbed into a chain of transactions. Let's say C gives some money to D, E gives some money to F. There are some transactions. Chain of transactions, every moment, let's define it as a second for the sake of simplicity, are clubbed into a block. Chain of transactions clubbed into a block. Then cryptographically, I'll explain what cryptography is. Cryptographically, they seal that by saying that, these transactions are all valid. So when I will say I give money to him, they first check, did I have that money in the first place? I got it from someone? Yes, transfer can happen. Fine. Then all these transactions are clubbed into a block and sealed with a cryptographically generated number, which is sort of, think of it as just simply as an encryption number, which is randomly generated. And imagine, remember in old days when kings used to send their letters to somebody else, they would seal it with something. Once it opens, it is meant to be the truth what king has said. People would believe that. So this is a digital way of coming up with a cryptographically generated number, which will be a digital address. So 1, 2, 3, ABC, XYZ, 000, whatever, some random thing. And that put at the end of the block defines a first proof block. World moves on, second 2. In second, people start transacting again, doing whatever they need to do. This keeps on going. There are about 3 lakh plus merchants around the world who accept Bitcoins today. 3 lakh plus merchants. You can buy a coffee in US with Bitcoins. Starbucks accepts it. Microsoft CDs in US. You can buy Tesla cars. You can buy Google AdWords. You can even pay your auditor, Ernst & Young in Switzerland, fees in Bitcoins today. They accept it. Okay. Number one, that number is growing. Number of transactions done per day on Bitcoin is close to 3 lakh. 300,000, give or take, 200 to 400,000, it varies. The computing power needed by miners to validate all these is 10 times of Google's computing power. Bitcoin still is a great concept. It's a currency that works, arguably. It's a currency which people have accepted up to a level. And it has, imagine there is no bank. It takes hundreds of years to build a financial system. They've built by a paper in 2008, a concept in 2009. And in 5 years, the value has gone up to $1,000. There is something people are seeing. It may work very well, scale very well, or there may be a Bitcoin 2.0, Bitcoin 3.0. We don't know, right? Time will tell. There are similar different cryptocurrencies. You can define your own. You can call your own coins. You can do whatever with it, right? So that's a whole concept of Bitcoin. Now the core thing, even if Bitcoin scales or not, in spite of all its challenges, the core thing it has given us is the underlying technology called blockchain, which does the following. It can build trust using a software. It has proven it doesn't go wrong. It is not hackable. It just works. And there are efficient ways of mining, which they are improvising, which they are bringing into the play. So blockchain essentially can be used, why only for currency? Why not for anything else of value? Today I upload my images on Instagram, let's say. Instagram owns the data. I Google it, I can find it, and it's not good. I upload my data, I search on Google, Google knows what I'm searching. What if this could be done in a, what if blockchain could drive the Internet 2.0, Internet's next version, where there is nobody central owning the data. Remember, the whole concept of blockchain is decentralization. Why can't this go beyond a currency into something else? Into a government. Why can't government voting, which we may not be able to trust, be done on a blockchain? So there are some blogs I've written on this. I can share later if you guys want. So there are a lot you can do with this, and blockchain itself has proven a lot of potential. Many industries are looking at it to manage data. At the end of the day, all everyone of us and every big company ever do is the following: you create information, you share information, you process information. There's nothing else anybody else is doing in broad sense, right? Google does this, Facebook does this, that's all it is, right? Now, Bitcoin is also some information of value. Value is a currency. Value could be tomorrow a painting which needs to be unique. Paintings, let's say I'm a painter, I do 10 versions of a painting. They get forged, they get copied, right? What if I say it's 1 of 10, 2 of 10, 3 of 10, and it's done on a blockchain that it cannot go wrong? So essentially the core technology blockchain brings is the truth establishing capability, which has proven right in Bitcoin. Efficiently or inefficiently is arguable. Audited, everything is tracked, nothing is ever deleted. Any clashes ever happening are always dealt with in a proper way. And at the end, it's decentralized. Not one person is owning it, not one company is owning it.
So that was the question. So, like, very central, like when you say this technology, somebody must be.
There is nobody. At the end, it's distributed nodes. You are a node, I'm a node. So that's a problem why people are not interested in doing blockchain businesses, because you're not going to own it. I may start something great. It becomes of value. Tomorrow you become a node, you process it better than me, you distribute it better than me. I'm nobody. I own nothing. That's a problem. Bitcoin, whoever started has not even disclosed his name, and today he doesn't own any Bitcoins. Not necessarily. We don't know. This can uniquely identify anything of value, can be audited, can be tracked, and the information can be shared among people, where nobody is questioning trust. It is the trust machine, blockchain, the underlying technology. The mining concept. Now you may say tomorrow that, okay, I'll be the only node. People are unlikely to trust. But if you do it very openly, very transparently, maybe they do trust. Who knows? It will take 5-10 years to build trust, to create some value. Core thing is, you gotta be open. You gotta be willing to let it go. You gotta be able to create some value in the process of whatever you're doing. And I'll give one example that we are working on. And then let the trust be built in time with everyone coming to the platform. At the end of the day, just think about it. Why do you think, what's the value of Google? It's not the best search engine in the world. It is not. I'll tell you. Best meaning technically. I'll tell you why. Because you're saying it gives the results on the page 1, right? How did it get there? Not by itself. 98, when search started, things were on 10th page and 20th page, and hobbyists started telling it what is the right. When we click, every time we click on Google, we are telling it what is the right thing. Now, because most of us tell it what is the right thing, it knows it, and it's making money of that. Because every time it is always going to have everything on the first page, right? So crowd efforts do come together. You need to be able to create some value that it's providing search information. Tomorrow, one of the things we are doing is the following. You have all digital you have your documents, PAN card, license, Aadhaar card, passport, blah, blah, blah. You go to Airtel to take a phone or SIM card, you have to give all of that and sign. All of us being CEOs must be signing millions of papers every year, right? Lots of them. You go to Kotak to open an account, you will have to sign again on all papers, copy, sign, right? What if this could be done digitally as a KYC process? You voluntarily upload all your documents. You own. It's driven by private public key concept, like the bank lockers are. So you apply a key, bank applies a key, then only it opens. So it's not that your information is anywhere, can be copied by anyone. You upload your documents, and whenever you want to share with an institution, with another individual, you share just using like Paytm, just using a mobile app, right? Simply just transfer to a merchant, or you share it or upload or share with anyone. More you share, more people are going to start verifying, validating. Let's say Kotak validates you. Let's say your employer Infosys validates you. Let's say your Airtel SIM card validates you. Maybe tomorrow Jio comes around and they say, there are 10 validations. I don't need to validate the same. Information is digitally available. It can be seen just like CIBIL score, right? You have a score that many people have validated. So that's one thing where we are going big, consumer app. KYC, know your customer, I think, and this can evolve into many more things. Your healthcare records, they're not looked at yet by anyone. Nobody's maintaining. 5 years ago, you fell sick, you probably don't even remember what your doctor said and what you are doing now. And imagine if all these records could be maintained on a blockchain. The only benefit, and compared to Practos and others, is this data is not owned by anyone. Nobody's going to sell it. As privacy gets more important, we start realizing the value of our information, our data. This will become more and more relevant. And one last thing I want to say, and then I can take any further questions if you have. One other thing which is happening where this is going to become very big is the following. Today, I was coming here, I searched Hyatt on my mobile. I'm making this up, I know where it is, but I was coming here, driving in a car, I searched on my mobile, Google Maps, Hyatt, and it showed me that here it is, and then it started showing me Expedia rates to book Hyatt. Right? It happens. That's how Google makes money. Tomorrow, being 5-10 years later, I may be in a Tesla auto-driven car, right? Then I may not be searching by clicking. More likely than not, I'll be shouting, take me to Hyatt. Tesla will search Google engine. When machines start interacting with machines, Tesla will not look at the ads. It will be designed to ignore the ad. Advertising model of internet is going to fail or change dramatically in the future. As humans step away, machines start interacting with machines. What will be the incentive for Google to process this information and give it back to Tesla? There has to be a micropayment process which will be digitized, tokenized, Bitcoin or some other currency driven. Google may come up with Gcoin, Tesla may come up with Tcoin, there may be interfungible, Apple will have its iCoins. This will happen. 5 to 10 years, it is happening, right? And that's where these machines interacting with machines to do the same thing as I was saying earlier. You share information, you create information, you process information. In all this process, when machines take over, a lot of the things that we are doing otherwise today, this will become more and more relevant. As privacy gets more important, people would not want Googles to own your data. That is going to become a challenge slowly. It is already a challenge. Many countries it's being debated, it's the right thing to do or not, right? Decentralized is a great process. Decentralized will work very well for machines. Tokenized system will work very well for machines calling machines concepts. And we are building something else in the space too, which is early stage, but we'll figure out in time where it goes. So, very quick short introduction to Bitcoin and blockchain. Essentially, Bitcoin is a digital currency. Blockchain is a process validating the truth.